Creativity Cave, and a voice that was lost at a track meet this weekend. I hope you are excited to be here. I gotta grab my painting lips and stamping lips. We will be both stamping and painting tonight. It is great to see you all. I would love it if you could let me know where you are watching from, as well as give me the thumbs up. There we go. That really helps so much, especially if you do it right away in the beginning of the video. It really helps push the video out to other people, and I so appreciate that. It has been a great week of watercoloring around here at the Creativity Cave, highlighted by the fact that the sun is still out. I'm so happy about that. It is so lovely to not be in the dark ages anymore. You're saying you're glad that my voice is back. It's really not totally back yet. um, excuse me. We had a great weekend. I drove, just me, I drove to Nashville, which is actually closer than where Carl goes to school from my house, which is kind of funny. So I drove to Nashville Friday morning, got there in time to catch him running the mile, and he was so close to getting his goal, which is to hit 4 minutes or under. And he got 4:04 and change. And last week, or 2 weeks ago, he ran 4:08. So I feel like next time he could do it. I'm not sure what he's going to run at their conference meet. But he also ran on Saturday, he ran the 3,000 and ran spectacularly well. He was the number 5 all-time in his college for the mile and number 3 all-time for the 3,000. So he wants a school record really bad, and I think he'll get there. We'll see what happens. He just did so well. And it was really fun, obviously. I am an aggressive cheerer at his meets, and I don't know why this is so bad. I really screamed a lot. But I always do whenever I see him. So it was really fun to watch him, and we got to spend just a little bit of time together. We had a lovely dinner out at is it Mangione's Little Italy? I think that's how you say it. It's a place, actually, oh, I forgot to tell Barb and Kelly I went there, because we went there when we were in Vegas, whenever we were in Vegas. I don't even remember. When were we there? November, I guess. I don't even know anymore. And we ate there. They ate there 2 times. I only ate there once. Anyway, it was delightful. They have really good bread. And then, of course, they have pasta, which Carl was all over. And, of course, when Mom is buying dinner, I think he orders a little more aggressively. So he was super nervous about his mile because he wanted that record so bad. And he said he threw up from nerves the night before. So he only had like a salad. And this is really funny, too. So when they travel, they get a per diem for food. And they have breakfast at their hotel, and then he goes, yeah, I got $100 per diem. I'm like, they give you $100 a day per diem for food? And he's like, no, $100 for the whole time. And I was like, they only gave you $100 for 4 days? I'm like, you eat like 4,000 calories a day. How are you doing this? So anyway, I felt bad, and I took him out, and then I supplemented his per diem with a little extra. The funniest part was we did a little tour of Nashville, and we drove down Broadway, which is where all the music, the club bars and whatnot are. And we went, I think when we drove by, it was around noon, and it was already pretty crazy. This is noon on Saturday, and they went there Saturday night. And I said, did you have fun? And he goes, well, there's only so much fun a 19-year-old can have in Nashville, which I thought was kind of hysterical. But he goes, I did get to hear the devil went down in Georgia? That song, you know that song. And he said that was pretty cool because obviously there's live music coming out of like every place in Nashville. So that was nice. And the weather was delightful. So that was really cool. And let me catch up on comments here. So we had just a really nice time. It was lovely to see him. I really loved being able to go to a meet like that where there's not a ton of people that he knows there rooting for him, and so that's always kind of fun. The drive, I drove back, so he finished his race at, so he ran on Saturday at around 4:20, or so, yeah, Saturday, and so he finished his race, and I was like, "Great job!" Snapped some pictures, and then I'm like, "I'm gonna go," and um, I got home at like 1:30 in the morning, and I was so tired. I almost stopped like a few times, but the one time I really wanted to stop, I was kind of in the middle of nowhere and there wasn't even any place to stop, but I thought about it. And I will tell you, Sharon Powell, if you're watching, I thought real hard about calling you, but I was rolling through Peoria at about midnight, so I didn't want to call you. If I would have thought about it earlier, I might have. But it was a long drive to do by myself, but it was worth it. So Carl said, bless his heart, his next meet is in 2 weeks, and it's in Grand Forks, which is probably 10 hours from here. And there's really no good way to fly there either. I mean, you got to go at least one stop. And so by the time you do that, it's not necessarily faster. And that's if the ticket's not outrageously expensive. So long story short, he said, you don't have to go. And so I might not go. Um, oh, Kathy said that her daughter, oops, oh, my thing moved. Hold on. My daughter who had to put her little dog down today. Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. That's just heartbreaking. Sorry, I'm just reading these. How does he get faster? I don't know, running. I would say that right now he is extremely well trained. So faster is probably more mental than it is physical. I think he could run it fast enough. It's just getting out of his head. If you've been watching the Olympics, you probably have seen there's other people who've been experiencing some of those issues, right? Like they've been trying to do, their whatever their Olympic sport is, and some of them are having trouble. I mean, he made it, it was a little bit of a stretch for him to catch this record, but he definitely within his abilities. I think it's mental. And then the other thing is he said he didn't go out fast enough. So it's a little bit of strategy too. You're running a mile, so he was on a 300-meter track or yard track, and I can't remember how many laps that is. It's weird because on an outdoor track it's 4 laps, but on an indoor track, depending on the track, it's either 8 or like probably 5-ish. So it's also strategy. So like when do you go, how do you pace yourself? So a lot of it is just that kind of stuff. Margaret, I didn't actually go through Bloomington. I don't think. I went more towards St. Louis. There was like 3 different ways I could go, and I actually drove. I always worry when GPS takes you on a interesting route. So I got off the freeway for a good 60, 80 miles. And I was just like, where am I going here? Anyway, it was a nice drive though. However, it rained almost the whole way home, which was kind of annoying. But it was okay. All right. Ooh, making egg rolls for dinner. That sounds good. Next meet is further away. Yeah, actually, the closest meet he had to us. Now, he goes to school 9 hours from where we live. So a lot of his meets are much closer to Fargo than they are to Iowa, where we live in Iowa. We're on the far side of Iowa from where he is. And his outdoor season. So this is indoor track season. His outdoor track season, his meets are in two in California, one in LA, one in like San Francisco area, one in Oregon, and then a couple in his area. So the next meet he has is his conference meet, and that's the one in where is it called? Grand Forks. He had a meet. The one I really wanted to go to was the one that was in Lincoln, Nebraska. But that was the week my sister had her surgery, so I was with her for that. How many runners are on the track at the same time? It kind of depends. For the mile, there were multiple heats. So that he was in, I think there was 5 or 6 heats, and each heat probably had 12 to 16 guys. In the 3,000, there was only one heat, and I bet there was 20, give or take, guys. So it kind of depends. On the longer races, they spread out more. So yeah. Yes, they are far away places. I'm like, I really want to go, I really want to go see him. But the other thing is, like, if I make a trip, so like the Oregon meet is the one I would most likely go to. And if I plan a trip to Oregon, what if he like is injured or something and then I don't end up going, or he doesn't end up running? Do I still go to Oregon to like hang out? I mean, yes, but it's tricky. So I like when I can drive, because the one in Oregon, I would have to rent a car for sure. So that gets, let's just say, spendy. So we'll see. All right. So today is our final day of our Fall in Love with Watercolor. And I'm really excited about this. We are going to be stamping, and I'm going to give you a couple of options for watercoloring that don't actually include watercoloring. So I like that. We're also going to do some fun projects and some show and tell. And I think, oh, and we're also going to add on to some stuff from last week a little bit. What else was I going to tell you? If you have ordered a box or a palette, we're hoping by the end of this week we'll have the rest of them on their way to you. But a lot of that depends on the paint. If it dries, and it might, because there's like a fire hazard warning, whatever, because it's so dry, which is good for paint, bad for fire. We'll see. It just kind of depends, but we've got a lot of paint waiting to be dried. So hopefully we'll see. I've got this one color, I think I mentioned it to you last week, that's a little stickler. Okay, so that's coming up. Where hopefully we shipped a whole bunch of packages last week. We've got more this week. If you would like a box, please get that ordered. I would say Wednesday is probably the day I'll cut off orders. After that, I won't do more boxes unless I have any left. I don't anticipate having any left, but if you would like one, make sure to get one, because I'm getting really close to the end. If you would like the PDF, you can also order that. There's a link in the description of this video for both of those things, as well as the palette. I'm really enjoying seeing all of the things that you're sharing in our Facebook group. By the way, you have been doing such a wonderful job. So thank you so much for sharing. It's been a lot of fun to see what all of you, the things you're creating and the different versions of things. So thank you for doing that. I will also say, I realized about 2 minutes before I came on here that I hadn't done my drawing yet. And so I think what I'm going to do for that, I've got several prizes to give away. And I think what I'm going to do for that is do probably 2 or 3 drawings for people who are registered, any version, the free version, the paid version, or the PDF or the box. And then I'm also going to do another drawing. I've got another prize for people who have shared in the Facebook group. So I'll do a separate drawing for you. And I've got a couple more goodies here and there that I can share. So if you haven't been sharing, this is your suggestion to just post in the group any of the things that you've painted throughout this event, and Of course, when you see other people's, let them know how fabulous they are, because there's some wonderful projects that have been shared. So I love seeing your take on things. I love seeing the colors that you have and all of that. Um, and then a reminder too that all of the content for this event is available through Wednesday the 18th, so in just a couple more days. After that, it is not open to the public. It will be for people who have ordered the PDF or the box of supplies, or you can also continue to get access to it as a member of Paint with Dina. And that also includes the Facebook group. So if you have not registered for one of those versions, you're going to get kicked out of the Facebook group too. So I would encourage you to grab the PDF. I really appreciate your ordering of that. It helps me be able to do events like this because an exorbitant amount of time went into this. Just so you know, this is not a quick and easy thing for me to put together, and there's many, many, many hours behind the scenes for putting all of this together. So I would love, I would be appreciative of you ordering it. Will I be putting it on Teachable? Yes. There's actually, I don't know if I've hit publish or not, but all the dates are actually on there. I just haven't put the content in. And then if you did order the PDF, I'm hoping to have it done by the end of this week. I do have a retreat that we're shipping on Wednesday. So I've got kind of a lot going on at the beginning of this week, but hopefully by the end of the week, I'll be able to have the PDF done. Because the PDF has so many extras in it, it does take a little bit longer. Just, I mean, editing all the photos and getting all the links and all the things in there, it takes some time. There's also some additional videos for you. I actually have one really fun one. So that is just an extra. So yeah, is the Advent calendar on Teachable? It sure is. Yep. If you don't have access to it, Mary, if you ordered the Advent calendar but don't have access to it, just drop me an email. Where did you find your Advent calendar? I think what she's talking about is the Advent calendar I offered for watercoloring this last November. I had a very, very limited number of them. And you can still get the PDF of it. I don't know if I have it available anymore. It might have just only been in the registration. But long story short, I will make sure that it's on my PDF store. Somebody was asking me about that, so yeah. Okay. All right. Now I will, at the end of today's live, I will have a little Q&A session. So if you have questions you would like to answer, keep that in mind. Don't ask them quite yet, just because I don't want to miss any of them. And where in Oregon does he run? I don't know. It's not Eugene. It's the other one. Like the other one north of Eugene. I can't remember the name. Because Eugene is the good one. Okay. All right. Okay. No, it's not Portland. It's between Salem and Eugene. I remember driving by it when we were on our way to Eugene this summer. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. Corvallis, yeah, I think that does sound right. So we'll see. Wouldn't it be fun for me to go out there by myself on a Dina trip? All right. So let's see. Now, I think that's all my stories. I feel like there was another story I had to tell you, but I can't remember. I don't know. Anyway, it was a really great weekend. Okay, so let's get started. A couple of reminders. Oh my gosh, just announced today. There's going to be free shipping this week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I believe. Oh dear Lord, I better look this up to make sure, because if I told you the wrong, that would be naughty of me. They just announced free shipping. So that is exciting. It's on orders of, I suspect, ooh, darn it, I gotta log in. Hold on. Come on. Sorry, it just takes a hot second to get all of this going. Free shipping is the 18th, 19th, and 20th, which I think that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Orders of $75 US dollars or more. And you have to hit that amount after your coupon codes and or Stampin' Rewards are applied. So you can get all kinds of really wonderful deals on this. Let's see. Prepaid paper pumpkin subscriptions and month-to-month subscriptions don't qualify for refills, or for free shipping, but refills, past kits, and add-ons do qualify for that. And I think that's everything. Also, just a reminder that the best deal we have for Stampin' Up! This month is the starter kit for $99 plus tax. You can get $125 in products. Free shipping is already built into the starter kit. And then you also can get the new stamp positioner for free, which I've been loving using, by the way. Here is the new stamp positioner. It is a different one than we've had before. And can I just share this? So Anne, who's on my team, she made a little stamp positioner carrying case for, I'm assuming, for herself, and then she found some fabric that would work for me because it has little mice on it. So she made this for me to fit my stamp positioner in. So how sweet is that? It fits. It's perfect. So anyway, I love that. And it is just such a treat. So she was very kind to send that to me. Okay, so I'm going to flip my camera and we're going to get started. And I'm going to share just a couple things from last week and then we're going to do our projects for today. Okay. So let's see here. Oh, that's not right. Give me just a second. No. Oh, goodness. Sorry, guys. Okay. There we go. All right. Here we go. All right. Did I ever get the mice I sent you? I did, Noreen. They actually just came like last week. I have them sitting here. I just haven't taken, because our videos have been so long, I haven't been showing what has been coming in my mailbox. So I apologize. Yes, I do have them. And thank you so much. You are so sweet because I actually saw those mice a while ago and I liked them, but I didn't grab them. And then I kind of regretted it. And then you sent them to me. So that was really cute. I will show them to you guys next week when I'm live. Okay, so first off, what I love doing is starting out with a little practice in my sketchbook. So I'm going to start by talking about how to just warm up. And so we did kind of a fun exercise last week. Let me show that to you. This one where we just did kind of some lines. And a lot of this process is just getting our brushes warmed up and everything. Remember I told you I was going to clean my heart? Yeah, I didn't. So we're just going to go right back into it. So for this exercise, I'm going to go a little different color scheme. And I'm going to start with some yellow. And I'm just going to do kind of some smaller ovals. You can do your whole paper if you want, or you can kind of do maybe half of this. But one of the things I love about this particular exercises. It's just giving me an opportunity to get my pigment to water ratio down the way I, or just to get comfortable with how much water I've got, what it's going to look like on my paper. It's also letting me figure out if I've got too much water when I'm painting, too little water. And it's warming up my wrist and the movements in my hand. So I love doing an exercise like this. Okay, I'm going to switch colors because I also enjoy seeing what the colors look like as I'm painting. So I'm going to go into my peacock green. And my dear friend Shelly's here. Hello, Shelly. Drive safe. She was here helping me today with several different things. And then we took a little time and painted. So that was fun. Actually, I'll show you what we painted because we were working on some color wheels with Stampin' Up ink refills and got some interesting results. I forgot to take a picture of yours too, Shelly. Darn it all. We kind of discovered we like certain colors and we do not like certain colors. So that was an interesting discovery. But this is just a nice relaxing process. And what I love too is I'm getting lighter and darker colors on here, which is nice, or lighter or darker values, more water, less water. And then we're also going to start overlapping these a little bit so I can kind of go over this. And we'll see what happens. It looks like we might be getting another color. Any guesses as to the color? Because it's kind of hard to see. Dottie said, do the colors look different depending on the quality of the paper? You bet your tushy they do, Dottie. That's why, or Dodie, sorry. That's why the good paper makes a difference. And the cheap paper is not always the best, only because if you're not practicing on it, you might not get the same results. So yeah, it's tricky. I think the good paper makes a bigger difference once you know what you're doing though. So in the beginning, I think it's less important that you have the good paper. And just be aware of the difference, like it's there. So for instance, our sketchbook here is, quote, not the good paper. It's not bad, it's just not the good stuff. I will give you a hint. Sketchbooks with the good paper are pretty expensive. I have sketchbooks that were like $150, and I also have sketchbooks that were like $60, $70. The main difference between the price is just the size. The bigger the sketchbook, and the good paper, the much more expensive. Green is the correct answer. And then I'm adding to this some of the peacock mixed with the soul shine. And that's the green you're seeing right here. And then we're going to do another green by taking, oh, that's right, my palette doesn't have the other green on it. I keep forgetting that I messed up on my own darn palette. And my other palette is upstairs, so I don't even have the green color here. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, I was going to put that in here. Maybe I'll just add some more soul shine to my green to get kind of a yellowy, warmer green. And then you can do some more of these. You can see this is much more of an olive looking green, so this would be great with old olive cardstock if you were, making a card. And so you can just kind of keep doing these. And then, of course, at the end, you can also add some gold, because I always enjoy having gold. You can fill this up as much or as little as you want. So if you want to really fill up every nook and cranny with these, you can, or you can leave some white space. I've got a fair amount of white space right now. And I'm laughing because I wanted to do a different color combination, but I'm not really loving this color combination. So I'll show you another sample of this. But this is also good practice. Like, love the exercise, don't love the colors. That's good to note in your sketchbook. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there because I'm feeling pretty warmed up. But let me show you the other one I did because this one's way better. So you can see this is Opus, Soulshine, Vermilion, and Naphtha Red with some gold. And there might also be some Magenta Rose in here. I can't remember because I didn't write it down and I can't remember anything anymore. But I thought that was kind of fun. Okay, now that we're warmed up, let's do another fun little exercise, a couple practice things in our sketchbook, and then these are great ones to turn into cards on your own. These are not part of our packet of projects, but they are just some fun things you can do. So I wanted to take my big flat brush here, and I'm going to get some Soulshine on my brush. And then I'm going to do just like a little rectangle like this. And I want to keep it pretty rectangle-y, meaning not pretty much a rectangle. Meaning I want it to be an actual rectangle, not a messy one. Okay, then let's see. Let's kind of do almost, not really a rainbow, but just some of those. I'm kind of working down my palette of colors. So here's another rectangle, roughly the same size. It doesn't have to be exactly, but again, we want it to be a nice rectangle. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna rinse that off and just keep on working down my palette. This is Quin Red. So I want it to be like 1.5 widths of my flat brush. And then if necessary, I can kind of clean up any of those edges to keep it a nice looking rectangle. I'll do Naphtha Red. And I'm kind of doing this one at a little bit of an angle. And when I said 1.5, I more mean like 1.25, to be honest. 1.5 was a little more than I actually wanted to have. You'll see why I'm choosing the size in here in just a second. Then I'm going to skip a couple of colors and I'm going to go to quinacridone, or Magenta Rose, sorry. Magenta Rose. Okay, so we're going to let these dry for just a minute and we'll come back to this one. Then I also, I wanted to come back to something we did last week, and that was this page. Oh, of course. So on this page, we did these rings and created these pretty little flowers with our just painting rings and then adding some leaves in green. And I really love the look of this. And you could leave this as is, right? These are cute little flowers, but we can also kick it up a notch. Oh, I'm trying to keep something in the way so that this page won't shut all the way. There we go. That's pretty good. So we have in our kit, if you got the box of supplies, I've got this medium tip. It's like an acrylic type paint. And what I always recommend whenever you're painting on something, especially for the first time, is to grab a scrap of paper, preferably something you've done maybe a little swatch test on or something like that. Let me see if I have one here. I always have like a zillion of these laying around. I always keep them because it's really handy. Okay, so like this is just a piece of paper. And what I like to do on here is test that my paint is good and primed. So I like to shake it up pretty good. If you're using this pen for the first time, you want to push down on it several times to kind of pump the paint into the tip. And then like I said, I like to practice this on a few things to make sure it's working. So what I can do is a variety of different things. I'm going to start, again, I'm trying not to touch my page. Okay, so I can do some fun things to turn these into flowers. So I'm going, or to decorate them. So I'm going to just do dots on this one. Okay, on this one, I'm going to do like scallops. Okay, on this one, I'm going to do lines, kind of like spokes. All right, on this one, I'm going to do like circles, like open circles to change it up. Oh, these are just so fun. Then on this one, I'm going to just do kind of like random dots, like a bunch of them. So these are smaller. I'm not quite pushing as hard to, you know, get smaller than like these ones. And I'm sort of doing it on its side versus straight up and down. That gives me smaller little dots. Okay, and then this one, I think I'm going to do lines, but I'm going to change them up. So they're kind of crisscrossing a little bit. And like I'm going to prime this because I can see that the paint coming out is getting lighter, and I might need to go over some of these again, but that's okay. So you do need to kind of, I would say between each, maybe prime it, which means shaking it up and just touching, scribbling on your paper, just a smidgen. Okay, so there we go. That looks pretty good. And now they're fancy. How fun is that? So you could totally do this, you know, on a card, and I love having this in my sketchbook so that I can reference back to it. Again, I liked them plain as well, so plain is fun too, but this just gives you kind of a way to take it up a notch and just change up the look. All right, next up, let's come back to this. It's not quite dry, but I think we're going to help it along, because this, by the way, is my favorite. Okay, and I'm just going to set something on here, because not all of the stuff is dry yet. Okay, so back to our little shapes. We definitely want them to be completely dry. Sorry, I had to bend over to get my heat tool. We definitely want this to be completely dry before we go any further. And then we're going to want our little micron pen. And if you have a pen that's not a micron, that will work. But again, I can't stress enough the importance of having this be totally dry. And if you thought that was cute, just wait. You guys are probably going to die when I show you what I'm going to do here. But again, we want it really dry. Okay, so then I'm going to take a brush, probably my smaller brush. And you know what I didn't do, because I'm a stinker, is I didn't get my gold ready. Where is my gold? Here we go. So when I say get my gold ready, what I mean is I need to get some water in here. So I'm just getting some into my paint palette here. So this will take just a second to activate. So I had a question that was emailed to me by somebody, and I wanted to go over this just to make sure the answer was understood. So this is for you, Beth. She asked me about when you wet down your palette, do the paints have to be as wet as like when they came out of the tube? And the answer to that is a big fat no. They absolutely should not be that wet. So when you spray down your palette, and I'm just looking for my spray bottle here. I always seem to find my alcohol one, but not my water one. Isn't that just how things go, right? Oh, no, oh my gosh, I was grabbing for my water once again. Oh no, here we go. We found it. Phew. Okay, so I've got water in my spritzer, and then I'm gonna spritz my paint and just like that. And that's gonna that's wetting down the surface of all of them. But what is in here is still hard, and that's just fine. We want it like that. So I'm going to take and, wet my brush in my different paints, and then I can pick them up. So now I'm kind of lathering it up with my brush, and then I like to go into my paint dish to kind of work the paint. But you do not want to spray these so much that they become liquid again, the whole thing. That will just simply waste your paint, and you don't want to do that. You want your paint to be dry. Now, if you are squeezing paint from a tube into a palette, like I did that for you, what you want to do is let it set up overnight at least. Some colors require much more time than that. Some colors overnight will do it. But that's the difference between, say, watercolor paint and like acrylic paint or oil paint or even gouache. Gouache is watercolor, but you can get regular gouache or acrylic gouache. Acrylic gouache, it has acrylic in it. And what happens is once the acrylic paint or acrylic gouache dries, you can't rework it again. It's done. You're set. So if you have paint left over on your palette, you can't use it again. That's what I love about watercolor, is you can use this over and over and over and over and over until you run out of paint. And it takes a long time for that to happen. So this palette should last you a very long time unless you are painting like a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean more than me. So I have not, for instance, this is from my palette from last summer. I have refilled a couple of these colors that I use more often, but I have not gone through this entire palette at all, and I use this palette pretty regularly. Okay, so back to our little activity over here. We've got these super cute little rectangles, and now we want to make something cute out of them. I'm trying to find my micron pen that the same size that I had in your box. I have a different micron pen, but not the right one, of course. And Shelly, I did get my desk pretty cleaned up. She was here and it was quite a disaster. Shoot. Okay, I've got all my pens in this little container, so I should be able to find it. Here we go. All right, so what I'm going to do with these little rectangles is, oh, actually, before we do that, we're going to decorate them a little. So I'm going to take my gold paint, and I'm using my little bit smaller brush, and I've been chit-chatting to give time or allow time for the paint to kind of activate nicely. And so I'm just painting a little heart on each of these rectangles like this in some gold, because we can. The gold paint is in your box, which just makes me so happy because I love it. Okay. And I just want to make sure that it's a good amount of paint so that they're not going to dry light. I think we're good. So now we got to let this dry again. Will you add gold to the warm up set? Oh, this page over here? I sure can. Yes. Because that'll give us time to let that dry. Okay, so we're going to come back over here, And yes, we can just add a cute little gold, and that'll make this look a little bit, fancier. Let me make sure this, yes, this is in camera. So I'm overlapping colors, definitely. Okay. So that looks pretty good, I think. Again, you can add as many or as few of these on here as you want. The idea is they're roughly the same size, but they don't have to be. And we'll let that one dry. Okay, next up, just rinsing my brush off pretty good here. Next up, I want to, those are still wet. So we'll come back to that. We got to let them dry a little bit longer. Let's do another thing. So we did some hearts that we turned into flowers, right? And I have a couple of examples of those cards that we made. So we made these heart flowers, but we can also make other types of, well, and then, so sorry, then we did these flowers, right? But we can also do some other types of flowers. So let's practice that just over here. And then this is, again, something you can turn into cards. So I'm going to start with just, actually, I haven't been using a ton with this palette, so let's just change it up just a little and use some of these colors. So I've got my favorite, this cobalt green, which is very much a Coastal Cabana looking color. Okay, so I'm just painting some circles. You can do hearts too for this, but I kind of just like the circles. And I'll do some Naples yellow. And what else should I do on here? How about some, oh, this lilac. Kind of some pretty colors. Now you can also do this with ink refills, of course. And we're going to let those dry completely. And we'll add to them, I guess, well, yeah, we'll just let those dry completely. And we'll come back and have some fun with those. But let's come back to these. I think this is just about dry. We'll be careful as we move forward. Maybe I'll hit this with my heat tool just to be safe. Okay, so I'm gonna start, this one I know is dry. So I'm gonna just carefully outline the heart. And then I'm going to outline the envelope. Notice I'm not being super perfect. Oh, I gave it away. I said the envelope, the rectangle. And I'm gonna turn it into an envelope by simply doing my lines like that. Okay, and let's continue this. So I'm just going to outline the heart, outline the envelope, and then do the lines like that. Oh my gosh, it's just so dang cute. Now, oops, I forgot to do the heart first. Now, I saw somebody say, and I'm not trying to pick on this person at all, but in our Facebook group, she said, well, Valentine's Day is over, so I'm kind of done with my heart. And I'm like, no! I believe the heart is good for any time, and it's not just for Valentine's Day at all. I think it's great to use hearts throughout the year. And so I would encourage you, just because Valentine's Day is over, to continue to use your heart stencil and hearts in your painting. So how cute is that? And then you can say something like, sending love. And I know you're going to say, oh, I don't like my writing. Well, we have stamps that say sending love too. So there you go. I just don't have one handy. So how fun is that? Oh, Sherry says heart equals happy and joy. Exactly. So I think this is fun regardless of the occasion. Sue says it's her most used emoji. Same. Mine might be the blowing a kiss, but yes. Or blowing a heart, which is blowing a kiss emoji. That one I do a lot too. Okay, so I'm speeding up the process on these flowers. Now I heard someone say balloons, and that is a fantastic idea. Okay, so just like over here where we used our micron, we're going to use it again. But this time we're going to do some drawing. Now, one thing is, if you are not comfortable drawing on your little circles, that's okay. You can use stamps for this. So for instance, this flower is from our Fragrant Layers stamp set, and you can just stamp that right over the circle, and that works great. But let me show you that you can actually draw a few things, even though you might think you can't. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start in the center of, I'm actually going to do this one. I'm just going to start in the center, and I'm going to swirl my way out. And there's a flower. It actually almost looks like a rose. Another one that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little circle in the center, and then I'm just going to do humps like this. So I'm adding ovals around. And what kind of helps is that you've got a circle that you're working in, right? So that is going to help you get the flower kind of in there in the right way. All right, that's pretty simple. Now I'm going to put a center dot right here, and then this time I'm just going to draw lines through that center dot. Like so, and then I'm going to put a little dot on the end of each of these lines. So it's almost like a dandelion. So cute. Another one you can do is, I'm going to do loop-de-loos. Actually, I'm going to do that on this one over here. And you can start with a little center circle, and then I'm just going to do loops or curly cues or whatever you want to call it. But by putting that center circle in, it kind of helps me figure out where everything should go. And then I can even add to it. I can put a little, this is like a teeny little like raindrop around each one, so that works. Oh, this one is actually one of my favorites. I'm going to start with a circle in the center, okay? And then kind of like this one, but a little bit flatter, I'm just going to do like scallops. Okay, so there's one row, and you can leave it with that, or I can do 2 rows. So now I'm going to go from kind of the point, the center of each scallop, to the next center. And part of this process is that I'm going slow. That helps make it happen. And you can see sometimes you get big petals, and I can keep going, or I can leave it like that. Oh, another one, and this is another favorite of mine, is I'm going to just put a center dot. Again, that just helps kind of ground where I'm working from. And I'm going to just kind of do this, kind of like what we had here, but no center circle, just a dot. Then what I'm going to do is repeat that process between each of the ones I've done. And then just kind of keep on going and filling this in. And I want all of these to be roughly the same size. So they're not really getting bigger, they're staying pretty consistent in size. And you can either stop there or keep going. And so now I've taken just circles that I've painted, and with very minimal doodle ability, I've added all these extra shapes and created flowers out of them. I think these would make great stamps, by the way. And I will say, I've mentioned this before, but one of the reasons I love stamping is because I'm not very good at drawing. Like, I can't draw a bird or like a true flower, you know, like true to life type flower. But I can make whimsical little doodles over painted spaces, and that is very much drawing, but I like to call it no skill drawing. So I don't really have drawing skills, but I can draw a few things. So then you can kind of just fill this in until you're happy with it. This is a little bit of an oblong flower, so I'm just trying to kind of fill it out, but there you go, roughly. Okay, so those are my flowers. Very, very fun. StazOn or Memento. At this point, it honestly doesn't really matter which ink you would use to stamp on top of this, as long as it's dry. I think you get a little better look from StazOn, but it's kind of down to your personal preference at this point. If you're going to paint over it, so like say you stamped this flower and then you were going to paint a darker layer, you know, to highlight the flower, for sure you would want StazOn. Okay, now I can make all of these into flowers by simply drawing stems like this, and if they go through the other flower, that's okay. And we're going to draw them. I think it looks cute when something crisscrosses. And then just like before, we can add leaves. These ones are a little bigger than like the cards I showed you just a few minutes ago. Because they're bigger, I think it's cute when you put a leaf up here and here. But you can literally put them wherever you want, and those are super cute. So both of these are perfect for turning into cards, but I'm also going to note down here, these could be balloons. So I might not doodle on them the same way, but I can drop down strings and make them balloons. Okay, so that's fun. Actually, let's do that quick over here, just so that I've got the idea really solidified in my sketchbook. Again, this is why I love having the sketchbook, because I can come back to this and say, gosh, what a great idea that was. Okay, so in the case of a balloon, you can do all kinds of different sizes and shapes. So maybe I'll practice a couple of those. By the way, this was not actually part of what I was going to do today, but I kind of like it. And then I can even put the little balloon tie thing. And then maybe another balloon looks like this. You know how balloons can be different shapes. And we'll put the little tie thing on. It could even be a heart-shaped balloon, right? They have those. I've seen them. And then once again, the little tie and, you know, whatever. So we'll let those dry and then we can outline them and add the strings. So another fun thing for your sketchbook to practice. And then all of these can be turned into cards, which are really fun. Now, speaking of cards, we've got 2 cards to make today. And let's get going with that. So let's see. Oh, our next card is going to be the black card base. And for this one, I want to take my stencil and some watercolor paper, and any of your watercolor paper will work for this. And I think I'm going to paint this first and then cut it down for my card. But I'm going to take my heart stencil once again because gosh darn it, I love this thing. And I will tell you, I feel like I've scratched the surface, but definitely not the full potential of what you can do with this heart stencil. So I'm going to start with the heart once again, tracing this onto some watercolor paper. This is the Fluid 100 paper, so it's the nicer paper, which is noteworthy. Okay, so I just drew the outline, and I'm not doing any of this business, but you absolutely can do whatever you want with this. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little dot in what I believe is the center of this. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw some lines from the edge of the heart out to the, ooh, I moved my ruler. And then the edge down here. Okay. And I'm gonna kind of repeat that a few times, well, several times. And so I'm just doing it from wherever that center mark is that I made on both sides of the heart that I drew. So not through the heart, just around the heart. And by the way, I will add more sections than we have right now. I'm just like getting started. I like kind of dividing it up, and then I can sort of divide those sections up further. And they don't have to be even, so I could do some on one side and not the other to get a little bit more variety. But that center point I drew, that dot I made, is just arbitrary. It's not the true center of this heart because obviously it's kind of an irregular shaped heart. So that's not an issue. It just helps dedicating a point to the center because then everything will look more even. This will all make a little bit more sense here in just a moment, but we're just about there. And you can add as many of these lines as you want. Again, they don't need to be even at all. Okay, so, oh, love this. All right, now, what I'm going to do is, you need to clean your monitor. If you can't see the lines I'm drawing, it's because I'm using a pretty light pencil. So let me hold this up. Hopefully you can see that a little better. It will all show up as we go. Now, I like to work with a finer point pen, but you can kind of do whatever you want. And here's where you can really have fun with this. Actually, I think I might take my color mixing palette and do a little mother method. Remember the mother method? So this was something we did in maybe day two or day 3, probably day 2, where we're going to take a color as the mother and then mix it into the other colors. So for that, I would like to do my Quin Red. This is actually a wonderful color to mix other colors in. So I'm just going to pick up color and put it in a bunch of these sections. And let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so we have 2 more sections than I have colors on my palette. So maybe we'll borrow a couple colors from our other palette. And I'm just putting a little bit of paint in each of these. I've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and actually the 20th I'm just going to have an extra of the Quinn red itself. Okay, so my first one is going to be Quinn red, and you can see I'm just going to paint this in like so. And you can play with, you know, how much water you have in these. Don't worry if you're not going all the way out to the edge, because we're going to trim a fair amount of this off. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, there's our first color. Now I'm actually going to use this for another color, but I'm going to add some water to it, so it's not quite as bright. And I think I'm going to put it so there. I'm going to put it right here, and I've got it kind of wet down, so, or watered down, so it's not the same. It's not going to be the same. Okay, and again, doesn't need to be perfect. Now, if you work not in order, that kind of helps the process, because then you can kind of let sections dry in between. So my first color is Soul Shine, which would go here, and I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go to Vermilion. That way I've got a little time for this one to dry. And I'll mix some Vermilion into my Quinn red, and then I've got a lovely mix. Now this, by the way, we're doing as a card, but you could for sure do it as your frameable item as well. So you can decide if you want to turn this into a card or your framed piece. All right, rinsing my brush off. Someone said Mylar balloons are all shapes. Yes, they are. I can mix the gold in. Actually, I'm not going to mix the gold in because I'm going to do something else with the gold. So, okay. Let's see. This is going to be red, so this is going to be carmine. Now, to keep it easier on my palette, I'm just going to mix, you know, right in a row. That way I don't worry about losing my place. Like, which ones have I mixed another color into and which ones haven't I? Though it will be somewhat obvious on my palette because the colors will be obviously looking different, but also that I've mixed in. Sorry, I got that extra drop of water. Now it's kind of spreading on here. Okay. That was a good suggestion, though. Whoever said the gold, it's just I have other plans for the gold. You'll see. All right. So I skipped shell pink. Then the next color is going to be magenta rose. Ooh, I dripped something weird into that. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, I bet there was paint in there or something. Maybe that's what it was. Or maybe there's some paint on my edge of my water dish. Okay, that's pretty dry, so I can go for it. So now, because I can paint right up against this, because it's fairly dry and the colors won't bleed. if you don't mind if they bleed, just you go right for it. Okay. Next up is, I'm going to skip Permanent Rose and we're going to go to Opus. Oh, always a good choice. And so what's happening is because we've got a mother color of quinacridone red. Ooh, and don't get your finger in your painting like I just did. It's going to kind of make all of the colors harmonious, which is one of my favorite things. While we're painting this, I can talk a little bit about my 30-day challenge. So I'm going to start it. Well, I should say, yeah, I'm going to start it on March 2nd. And the reason is it will give the people whose boxes we have not sent a little bit of time to get their boxes so that they can, follow along with us with their supplies. And then it will also give those of you who maybe aren't completely caught up some time to catch up a little bit. But the 30-day challenge is geared towards creating a practice of painting a little bit every day. Nothing is going to be like high pressure, complicated, nothing like that. They're all easy exercises to paint, and they're all just geared towards giving you kind of a prompt, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Some of them, there's a lot more wiggle room than others, but each of them are going to have a suggestion from me, and you can either watch it or not, or look at it or not look at it, I guess I should say. And then you can create your own paint your own thing. The idea is you're doing it in your sketchbook, so this is not something you absolutely can turn them into cards, but this is kind of, I want you to do it in your sketchbook because they're not all going to be masterpieces. They're more experiments, but then you'll have them in your sketchbook. So when you need an idea of something to paint, you can kind of look back on this and see what is what, and then create from there. So it's kind of like it'll help give you jumping off points. Now, part of where this 30-day challenge comes from is there is actually a pretty dedicated 100-day challenge that is done every year. And I actually just recently learned that it was started many, many years ago from somebody's like college project, like an art project where they had to do something for 100 days or something like that. And so they combined it with art practice. And the idea is, of course, to just get you consistently doing whatever it is. Another thing, well, and then let me also say to that, I've tried doing the 100-day project actually a few times now, 2 or 3 times, and I fail miserably at it. And I think part of the reason is it's tricky to just say you're going to paint for 100 days, because my thought is, well, I need to paint once a day, every day for 100 straight days. Well, that is just, you're setting yourself up for failure from the get-go. So I want to make it very clear that the 30-day challenge that we're going to do is 1, a much smaller amount. 2, does not have to be every single day. In fact, I encourage you to not do it every single day. You might do a whole bunch at once and then skip some days, or you might do 1 every single day, or you might do a couple here, a bunch there, nothing for a while, and then come back. You might skip around. However you want to do this 30-day challenge is totally up to you. but it is the whole point is simply to get you to paint on a regular basis, and nothing is, I mean, you literally can do this in 3 minutes. Now, one of the other things I hear all the time, not only about painting, but also about stamping, is, well, how do you find time to do all of this? And the answer is simple. If it is something you want to do, you will find the time. So I don't know if you guys know this about me. I work like 60 hours a week pretty regularly in my business. Like, there's just so much stuff I do behind the scenes. And that's not, it's because my business is pretty big. You know, like, this is my full-time job, and then some, obviously, if I'm working this much. And a lot of the stuff I do is administrative, you know, there's just all kinds of stuff I do behind the scenes that nobody sees, that you don't realize is happening. Well, I still find quite a bit of time to paint. I found time to paint while I was driving to see Carl. I took my go bag and I painted in the hotel when I was in Nashville, because I find it relaxing and calming, and it's just part of my process, or my routine, really. So now, does that mean I'm painting for hours a day? No. Sometimes it's like 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes it's an hour or two. It just kind of depends. So if you are struggling with finding the time to paint, one question I would ask yourself is, what could you take out of your schedule so that you would have more time to paint? And I think the answer might surprise you, and in that, or actually look at what you're spending your time on, actually, is what I first want you to ask yourself. Like not time you spend on work or family commitments or, you know, whatever. What free time do you have in your schedule? Because everybody has the same 24 hours, right? And so what are you doing with that free time? If you are scrolling on your phone, P.S. ultra guilty. Are you watching TV? Are you watching endless YouTube tutorials of projects you're never going to do? You know, there's lots of ways you use your time, but I think that you can choose what you want to spend your time on. And if that's a priority for you, great. Now, if it might not be, maybe it isn't. Another thing is, maybe you want a longer period of time. So then you are going to literally need to put it in your schedule. So set an alarm. Like, say, okay, my painting time is going to be Tuesdays at 7 p.m. after dinner. The kids don't have any activities tonight, you know, whatever your time might be. And then that's your painting day. And that way you can for sure have time to do the things you want to do. And it's not perfect. You know, sometimes I get, like, last week, well, last week I didn't paint much outside of painting because I was spending a lot of time painting with you guys on lives and whatnot. Also, this week I probably won't, well, I'll paint a little bit. I want to make time for painting because I didn't get a lot of it, you know, just like doing my own thing, painting. Oh, and I just totally stuck my finger in that. It helps, by the way, when you're not recording. Because I swear I'm better at painting when I'm not on a video, which is not good, but I keep sticking my finger in stuff. But I think part of it is I'm not usually narrating my painting practice. But that's a big old finger right there. Luckily, I've got paint in my palette that I can see about fixing this with. There we go. By the way, if you have a kind of a mess up like that you're trying to fix, I would kind of go over the whole thing so that you don't end up with like weird lines. Then the whole thing will look good. Okay. But you can see we're just kind of going around the horn here. My next color is Shell Pink, which is a fave. And notice some of the paint, my whatever color, my mother color is Quin Red, has dried on my palette. That's no big deal. You just will mix it in with the new color in a little bit of water. So don't worry about that. And then the beauty is when I'm done with this particular painting, I will have what's left in my palette to do whatever I want with, and it's really fun. Have I done an event, with metallic paints? Have I done an event with metallic paints more than gold and silver and copper? No, and I just painted the wrong section here. No, I've incorporated metallic paints into lots of different things, but have I specifically done an event with more metallic paint in general? No, but I've definitely added metallics to my paint colors. I don't actually advocate for purchasing metallic paints because you can take your gold, your silver, or copper is actually not really a very typical paint color, but you can take your gold and silver paints and mix them into colors and get any color of paint that you want, any color of metallic paint. But I've never done a metallic specific painting anything per se. I mean, I've shown projects, but I've never done like an entire event under metallics, and I probably wouldn't, by the way. Just because I feel that's somewhat limiting, but believe me, I use plenty of metallics in projects, just I've never focused specifically on that. I hope that answers your question. Metallics can be tricky, for lack of a better explanation. Yeah, you know, it is so easy to see metallic paint and think, oh, whew, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of metallics and I'm going to make all these cards. But as it turns out, most metallic paint, first of all, is cheap. Meaning it's really all they're doing is adding like an iridescent pigment powder to regular colors of paint. And often the quality of those paints is very poor. I'm not saying everyone is poor, but if you look at like the major paint manufacturers, none of them really make colors of metallic paint, or not very many. And then the ones that do, sometimes they do them in colors that look good on black, and black watercoloring is complicated. That's actually kind of a complicated question. First of all, I don't think black watercolor paper is great, even the expensive stuff. It's just weird, for lack of a better descriptor. And so I don't like it. I have like a pad of it, and I've really only used maybe 1 or 2 sheets. You can paint on our black cardstock with paint, but again, it's not the same. And it's also just not my favorite. So I think whenever I use colored metallic paint, I mean, I have some. I have always been fairly monumentally disappointed with the results that I get. So I'd much prefer to just mix it in with regular paint. So I hope that helps. Okay. What do I take in my go bag, please? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe I'll put like a little section of that in the PDF for you guys. So I have I have a palette of paint. Sometimes, so I have like kind of an old palette of paint that I keep in there that just has like your basic colors. And I want to say it's like a 24 set of just basic colors. Then I have a pencil and some microns and a white gel pen that I keep in there. I have a second set of the starry colors, the Kiritaki starry colors that I keep in my go bag. Actually, I have 3 sets of them. I have one upstairs, one downstairs, and one in my go bag. I have 3 sets of starry colors. That's how much I use them. I have a ruler. I think I said a pencil. And then I have a little roll-up case of brushes. They're not, generally speaking, my best brushes. They're, you know, like either, much like stamps, sometimes I've purchased duplicate brushes, or they are older brushes that I don't use a ton, but just a little sampling of brushes. These brushes, by the way, are perfect for your go bag. Just because, oh, and you know what, I'm going to skip this one because I don't have that color. And then I need one more color here. So I'm going to take, I'm going to mix some lilac from here because that's kind of similar but different. But I'm missing my darn green, my Viridian green, because I put the peacock in both of these spots. So I will fix that for you. But this is lilac off my other palette, and that mixed up interesting. I'm even going to put a little more in there because it's not what I was expecting. Let's see, what else do I have in my go bag? I have watercolor paper, and then I will throw in, like, if there's a sketchbook that I'm using, or, you know, something that I'm currently working on. But I have loose sheets of watercolor paper in there, you know, so that I've got paper to work with, depending on what I want to paint. Excuse me. I also have a pencil sharpener in there. Okay, so there we go. That looks pretty good, except for the little blob I put there, but we'll cover that up with something. Okay, and is there anything else? I think that's about it in my go bag. Oh, clips. I've got a couple of these clips to clip my sketchbooks. So there you go. Okay, now we're going to let this dry. It's mostly dry now, but when it's completely dry, what I want to do is take my gold and paint the outline of my heart, and then the border between each color with my gold. So we'll come, maybe I'll do that later, like as in not during our live, because I've got some other things I want to do yet. But I'm going to set that aside. Okay, next, our next project is a good one. We're going to stamp. So you've got a piece of paper. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret. So we have, in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, we have the Fluid 100 paper. This is not paper I recommend for stamping and heat embossing. Meaning, I don't like to heat emboss on this paper. Stamping is fine, but heat embossing, not so much. And part of the reason is because it's cotton paper, so it absorbs it, and it causes problems with the embossing. It just doesn't work right. This paper right here is another brand of paper called Canson. It is very much a student grade paper. It is wood pulp paper, which is the same material as your sketchbook, and it does not absorb the ink and embossing powder. So I really like that. Now you can stamp and emboss in gold, black, clear, or white. Clear or white gives you the same results. Silver, copper, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But like anything you heat emboss, what I recommend doing is dropping your embossing buddy over the top, just like any project you would heat emboss. And then we're going to ink up our stamp. So I'm going to use this big outline image from the Fragrant Layers stamp set. And then we're going to stamp. Now I also pulled a whole bunch of different stamps sets out from our current collection that I think would be great for what we're about to do. So you can do this with anything you'd like. But man, I like this stamp set. Oh, it's just so pretty. Okay, so I just stamped it right in the center. And then when I heat emboss it, it's going to look real nice. Because I'm not using the Stampin' Up paper. Shh, don't tell anybody. This is about the only time I will tell you I don't like Stampin' Up product for a certain card making thing, because I really do think it's great for everything else, but this is the one time. In the PDF that I'm giving you, by the way, I will have all of my favorite recommendations of things that I use in watercolor all the time, so that you can see what my favorite supplies are. I definitely recommend using things off of my supply list because I have wasted an exorbitant amount of money on things that I do not care for over the years, and I want to help you, prevent you from having that same problem. Okay, now when I watercolor, I can really use any kind of colors that I want, but this particular card, the card base I gave you is basic beige, which means you can use any colors combinations that appeal to you. So I'm going to go ahead using again my smallest brush stroke. I think I'm going to do some, I keep coming back to this Cobalt Violet Light hue. It's one of my faves, and I'll pull my heart back into the picture because I do like working off my heart. Okay, so, and it might be time for me to change water too. I want to lighten this up a fair amount. And so when you paint an image like this, in fact, I'm going to bring it up closer to the camera so you can see a little better. What paper do I use to heat emboss? This is the Canson XL paper. And again, I will, in the PDF, I have all of the suggestions of products that I recommend, because like I said, I've wasted a lot of money on things that I did not find worked so hot. Okay, so I'm adding some paint to these. Now I don't want them all to be exactly the same. So on this one, I've got just the Cobalt Violet. This one, I'm going to add a little bit of the Cobalt Violet Light. So that's the color right next to it. I'm just going to mix that in. It's going to change the color of this a little, but still be similar. And then on the last one, you can see I'm just doing part of this. And now I'm going to kind of continue. So I'm going to take clean water on my brush and kind of blend these out. And so coloring in line images like this is very similar to coloring with Stampin' Blends. So you put the darker color, you know, towards the base of each petal, and then you blend it out with your lighter blend. The same is really true here. And then you can see the embossing resists the coloring. And it's okay if you go outside the lines. Don't worry about that. And I'm also going to show you how you can add some highlights or shading to this image to make it pop even more off your page. Okay. So again, I'm just adding a little bit more of the darker pigment towards the center. And then you can see it kind of bleeds out a little bit, but you don't want to go crazy. Otherwise you'll get ugly blooms. Some blooms are nice, but sometimes if you have too much water, you can get a lot of bloom, and then that's not so hot. Okay, I'm going to repeat that same process on this next flower with the mixture of color. So again, this is going to look really nice because it's the same. It's kind of the mother method again, where we're mixing in another color on not all the petals, most of them, but not all of them. And then that just gives you a nice look. Because remember, whenever you're looking at flowers in nature, they are not all exactly the same shade of color throughout the whole flower. And two flowers next to one another aren't necessarily the same color either. So we can kind of create some interest. By the way, I'm soaking up some of this excess and dropping it off on my my towel here. Actually, and I really might need some clean water. Okay, for my last flower, I'm going to add some shell pink, that really light pink, to the mix. So I'm just going to kind of put it on my palette over here. And I was laughing, Shelly and I were talking today when she was here, and I was saying how she was saying how she always cleans her palette. She just can't have that much disorder, which made me kind of giggle. Because I obviously, well, many of you who know me well know I thrive on chaos, but it's actually more almost laziness that I don't clean my palette off each time. Well, that is not giving me quite the results I was expecting. But it might be too that my water is so dang dirty. Sometimes dirty water is not a bad thing, but in this case, I'm not sure if it's helping. I will also tell you that in the video, I've got a couple of videos, or in the PDF, I will link a couple of extra videos on watercoloring outline images that I think you will enjoy. So each of these flowers is a little bit different. They're similar but different. And I think that's good. Okay. And you can kind of go back and rework this as much as you want to. I'm going to take and just put a little bit of that, of any of the pinks that we're kind of doing. Maybe I'll water down this pink a little bit. The mixture that has the shell pink in it with the, everything has a little bit of the cobalt violet light hue in it. Okay. And that looks lovely. Now for the centers of these, I want to take and use some vermilion. And just like everything else, I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of my cobalt teal, or cobalt violet light blue. So that's going to kind of settle down the vermilion so it's not quite so intense. But that's a nice contrasting color. And I'll put it in the middle here. And if they're dry and there's embossing powder, like a embossing ridge between them, they will not bleed. If there's if they're still wet, like I'm going to put some on a couple of these, they will bleed. So if they're wet, they'll bleed. If they're dry, they won't. And then the embossing areas help minimize the bleeding too, because it kind of creates a literal physical barrier. Okay, so there we go. That looks pretty nice, if I can just say. Now I want to add some green, and because I don't have my darn green on my palette here, I'm going to take some sap green off of my other palette, and I'll just stick it up here on my dish. And I'm going to use sap green. Now I'm not adding anything to this green at all. And we're just going to kind of paint these leaves, and then we'll add some additional color to them. Now, what happens if you go outside the lines? Great. No problem. You can see I'm actually not trying to, but I have managed to go out. Ooh, that one really went outside the lines. That's fine. Watercolor is often a somewhat less than perfect, situation. And it is completely natural to, like, I know I'm just doing it on purpose, but it is totally normal and natural to go outside the lines in watercolor, and I think it looks fine, and it kind of adds to the whole process. Now I'm going to take a little bit more pigment and put it at the base of each of these leaves so I get some darker areas. What I'm going to try to not do is get it in my flowers, just because that'll kind of create a muddy mess. Let's see, Laura says, my painting area got as messy as my stamping area gets after stamping. Yes. I've stained the laundry tub with my paints. The laundry tub with your paints. Is there a way to clean it? Bleach didn't help at all. Your laundry tub got stained with your paints. Like re-inkers or paint, Dodie. If they're Stampin', if you're using re-inkers to paint with, I'm not sure, but I will tell you that a Stampin' sponge, like the old orange ones we used to carry, work with that. That will definitely help. Someone suggested a magic eraser. Yes, that would definitely do it. It's more of a physical scrubbing than it is like the bleach. I wouldn't think bleach would work on that either, really. Okay, so now we have this, and this looks lovely. You can absolutely stop here. But what if we did a little more? Okay, so now we're going to go back to our color wheel lesson really quickly. And the color we're using, that violet, is, one of these red-violet colors. So what's the opposite of that? And it's kind of a yellow-green color. So what if I took, and I'm going to do it on here just so it doesn't all bleed together. What if I took some of my cobalt violet light hue that we've been using on all these flowers, and a little bit of my yellowish green. Okay, so maybe that's like my leaf green in here, or it's some Viridian Plus Soul Shine. Okay, I'm going to put some right there, and then just with a little touch, I'm going to mix some in. And I think I'm going to, oh, here we go. I'm going to mix some over here. So that's definitely more of that yellow green. And what I get is kind of a neutral color. Neutral, like brown or gray. In this case, brown. So what I'm going to do with that is first of all, I'm going to water it down pretty substantially. And then I'm going to use that in the area behind here. Okay, so, and I'm going to kind of let this bleed out really light. So again, to create that, I took the color I was using, which was kind of a reddish violet. So on my color wheel, I have a red violet color. And then I looked for the color across the color wheel. So its complement, which in this case is yellow green. And then I added the complement to it, and that's what I'm using to kind of color in between like the background area. And I watered it down significantly. Okay, so I don't want it to be, you know, that exact color. And that gives me what I like to call a highlight kind of color or a background kind of color. And it's just going to make everything pop off this page. Now, it turned out that it was the green, or, well, I didn't use the exact green that I used for my leaves, but it was a similar color. But let me quiz you. What is the complement of blue? So if you were painting some blue flowers or blue something, what's the complement of that color? Anybody know? Let me know in the comments. Now, I'm also not going over every square inch of the background of this. I'm just kind of letting it sort of blend out to basically a clear area. The opposite of blue is, so here's blue, the opposite is orange. That is correct. What is the opposite of purple? Like straight purple. Ooh, that was too dark. So I'm going to add a bunch of water to kind of clean that up. Yellow, that is correct. The opposite of purple is yellow. Now, those complementary colors I always think are confusing because like the opposite of green is red, right? And we know green and red look great, i.e. Christmas colors, right? We know that purple and yellow look good together. Think of your favorite sports teams like the Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are purple and yellow. The Denver Broncos are blue and orange. There's a team in Florida that is blue and orange. So those colors look great next to one another, but when you mix them together, you get a neutral color. Okay, so now we have just this kind of pretty background, right? So that looks nice. Now we can turn this into a card. I will actually do that later, but that is a card. Now, for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, that's so much work, can I show you a simpler version of this? This time, I'm going to do the same thing, but rather than heat emboss it, I'm going to stamp it in black StazOn. Okay, so, sorry, I had to find my StazOn. And I'm going to stamp on the table, not on my box of Stampin' Up kits. Okay, so I've got the exact same stamp, but rather than heat emboss this, and you could heat emboss it if you wanted, but just to change things up, I'm going to use my StazOn. So the trick with StazOn is you ink it up real good and stamp it relatively quick because it can dry out. Giving good pressure to this. This would be great to do in a stamp positioner because if you mess up, you can kind of redo it. Okay, there we go. That looks great, right? Okay, so this is what I would call, it's one version of faux stamping. So I'm going to take my little spritzer and I'm going to spritz my paper. I didn't drown it in water. I just spritzed it a little. And depending on your environment, like is it dry, is it wet where you live, you might need to do this a couple of times. But I'm going to ink this up. And so, well, let's do a totally different color. I was going to say a similar color would be Petunia Pop, but I think a completely different color would be kind of fun too, just to see the difference. So I'm going to go with Timid Tiger. So I'm just going to ink this up with Timid Tiger because this is a two-step stamp. So obviously this doesn't work on every stamp. And I'm just going to stamp this over the top. Okay, and because it's wet, it's going to bleed, and you can see it's already bleeding, and sometimes you need to help the bleeding process along. So in which case I'm going to spritz. I'm holding this about 12 to 18 inches away. A little closer. Oh, there we go. A little closer will help spread out the color a bit more. Now we're not going to worry about the background like we did in the last card. Okay, but then we can go to our stamp set and pull out our leaves. Now I'm like, uh-oh, where are my stamps? And do the same thing where we're going to ink them up in like Old Olive and stamp them down. And can I find my leaves? Of course not. Ooh, I fear they're not handy. I'm like looking under all my things. Oh, actually, are they in the stamp set? Oh, they are. Joy, joy, joy. I hadn't mounted all the stamps. That's good news. Okay. Then there's even a little dot, so we can do the center of the flowers as well. Okay. So I'm going to stamp the center, I think, in Berry Burst. That might be pretty. All right. And then my leaves I can do in green. Now, one thing I can see that's happening is right here, there's orange on that leaf that I don't really need. So I'm going to just lift it off with my clean brush. Clean dry brush. I'm cleaning it off each time in my on my paper towel. Okay. Then I've got my stamps. So I'm going to take, actually I think I'm going to take Granny Apple Green. It's a little happier green to use here. And I'm going to stamp it down. There's probably still enough water, but I can always spritz it again so that it will bleed a little bit. Okay, and then the other leaf. So this is probably good and colorful. And right there. Okay, so now that's kind of bleeding out. And you get similar results, but you can add some, some of the highlights to this as well. You don't have to let it just kind of be what it is. So for instance, I can pick up some pigment from my brush and tap it towards the centers of each of these so that they're a little more interesting. So we get a little darker towards the centers of our petals. And whatever else I want to do, I can do all kinds of things to this, but that is kind of some faux watercoloring. Now I love that the color is bled outside the flowers. I think that looks really fun and it's different. If you were to heat emboss that, it might not do as much, but it still might. It kind of depends on, all the factors, how much water you're spritzing, how much the spritz is pushing the water and the color, but there you go. So I'll turn this into a card and I will show those. Okay, and then let's come back to that heart we painted. We can, I probably won't do all of them, but I'll do several of these so you can kind of see. So first off, I'm going to start by outlining my heart. And here's what is so glorious about this, is it's going to cover up any of the, like you can see, these are not all perfectly aligned sections that I painted. And so it kind of fixes all of that. And then it's going to do the same thing on each section. So we'll go ahead and do each section. In between, the line in between each section. Now, I personally kind of like the line that sort of forms. You kind of get a little bit darker line, between each section, and I'm okay with that. I think it's all right. Whee! Now, if you recall, I did somehow find a way to get a smudge of yellow paint in the center of this darn heart, which bums me out. And I could probably try and clean it up, but I was worried it would just make it worse. So what I can do is either stamp something in the center of this, because again, this was actually our card number, I think 5 or 6. I could stamp something in the center of this to kind of cover that up, or die cut something over the center. So like with an alphabet set, or like we have some words you can die cut, so that would work too. Was I a teacher in a past life? Well, I sure was. I taught high school biology and like general science. So yeah, I actually was a teacher. Does it show? Can you tell? Okay. Oh, and then I just cleaned my brush off, but I wanted to do some more gold. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of come back in and do a line on each of these. So when I, ooh, that was a bad line. When I am doing this particular one, again, the idea was that this was going to be for a card, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe this is more frame worthy. You have a frame in your kit, your box, so you can take literally any of the projects that we've done that you like and put them in a frame, because I think there's many that we've done that are frame worthy over the last week. But yeah, so you just continue all the way around with the gold lines, and then I think that's really fun. I've done lots of kind of versions of this type of a thing, but yeah, it's very, very fun, and I think just I love the process of it. And there's so many different ways. You could do the rainbow. You know, we did the mother method. You could do another one. Again, the reason this one is empty is because I don't have vermilion in my palette. I messed that up, and I forgot to bring my other one that has the vermilion in here. So I want to save that so I can finish it up correctly. Okay, so that's how this one finishes. You can either cut this down to fit on a card front, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. I think it's frame worthy myself. Okay, I'm just looking at my list. More color mixing, we did that. Okay, now you have in your packets, you actually have stuff for one more project, and that is actually going to be my challenge to you. This project has the words love die cut and a piece of and a card base of Petunia Pop. So my challenge to you is to create or to paint on your love however you would like. By the way, this is the good watercolor paper that we die cut this from. So you could do some of our textures. You could do some of like the warm-up exercises we've done. You could paint flowers on the word love. You could do layers of color, lines of color, whatever you want. You could paint each color a different, or each letter a different color, however you want to create this. That is my challenge to you. And then I would love to see what you come up with in the Facebook group. So make sure and share it there. If you did not join the Facebook group, I would love to have you over there. Reminder that access to the Facebook group and access to all the videos we've had in Watercolor Week is good through this Wednesday. So you don't have too much time left. If you want to have access beyond this, you can have lifetime access by either purchasing the PDF or the box of supplies. So if you bought the box of supplies, you will get the PDF as well, or be a member in Paint with Dina. And just a shameless plug for Paint with Dina once more. Paint with Dina is housed on a website. It's actually it's called Teachable. And each month we have a variety of different videos that are posted there. They include technique videos. Sometimes they're on supplies. Like we did a whole section on using a type of brush called a filbert. And this is what a filbert brush looks like. It's like a curved, flat brush. We've done like skill building videos and then project videos. So there's just all kinds of different things in there. So there's new projects and videos posted each month. You can also enhance your Paint with Dina experience by joining Stencil Club. Stencil Club includes Paint with Dina. By the way, Paint with Dina is $7 a month. Stencil Club is $20 a month. And if you're in Stencil Club, your stencils are going out probably tomorrow. And do you want to see what I have a sneak peek? Do you want to see what Stencil Club is for this month? Or warning, if you're in Stencil Club and want to be surprised, look away because I'm going to show you what our stencil is for this month. And it is this one. Okay, so this is our stencil. Here is one version of it. And then I did another version of it in the hotel room. So this is one of the things I painted. So it's a really fun stencil. I'm calling it the Twisted Flower. That's large. It is large, but actually it will fit. You can do part of it on a card, which is fun. Most of the stencils can be used on cards and in our sketchbook. Now, what's the deal with Stencil Club? So I showed in one of the earlier this week, like last week videos, but Stencil Club is designed to help you have something to paint when you can't think of something to paint. And it also helps you just get, it's something easy to paint when you're not sure what to paint, but it also helps you work on water control and color mixing and all kinds of things like that. Brushwork. So let me show you just a few of some of my favorite stencils. This was one. It's called Dragon Scale. And what I like to do in Stencil Club is show you kind of maybe less obvious ways to use your stencil. So like this is one way you could use it. Then here was another way is I kind of did, I call them, what did I call this? Like not floating rainbows. I can't remember. Here's another way. So like the stencil's huge, but I can make it on a card size. These were a few different ones. Traveling rainbows, that's what I called it. Sorry, it took me a second to remember. But these are all things I made with this one stencil. Another one of my very, very, very favorites is this one. This is called the Petals, and actually this is the basis for your stencil that you got in your kit that I called Fat Petals. So that stencil was based on this design because I loved it so much. I'm just looking, I had the stencil out here a minute ago. What did I do with it? But it's a really great design, and you can see here I did it another way. It was one of my very favorites. Let me find another stencil. Oh, this is a pretty recent Stencil Club. This is the large hexagons. And then I had embedded in the design of this some options for adding details to your stencil. So that was kind of fun. Oh, this was another favorite stencil. This one is called Slots. And that was a lot of fun as well. So anyway, it's really great. Is Stencil Club only for those in the U.S.? Ooh, gosh, that's a really good question, Dolores. If you could email me your address, I can look into that. The answer is I'm not sure. I can look into that. Obviously, I would have to price it different because of shipping. And maybe we would do, depending on where you are, that kind of depends. Just email me with your address, Dolores, and I'll look into the possibility of that. The answer is maybe. Okay. So yeah, Stencil Club's a lot of fun. Now, Stencil Club includes tutorials to go with the stencil, obviously each month. And I always say at least one, but I don't think I've ever done only one video. And then you also get the Paint with Dina videos. So that's kind of awesome. All right. So I think I'm going to flip my camera around. Ooh, could you see my dirty water? Okay, so, ooh, that's crooked. Let's straighten that out a little. It's dark now. I have had just the very best time painting with you. I hope that you will join us for our 30-day challenge. Again, that's included in either the box of supply version of this or the PDF version. Where do you find the PDF to this class? If you have purchased it, it's not out yet. It will be sent, I mentioned earlier, probably at the end of this week, because I need to take pictures of all the things we've made. The pictures will all be in the PDF, as well as links to all the videos, plus some additional videos. So I've been working on the PDF this whole time, but I have actually quite a bit more to add to it. So yeah, it's going to include all kinds of extras. There's actually another video I want to shoot for it. It also will have a really great video of all of the supply kind of information, like what's the difference between different types of brushes, or what's the difference between different types of paper, or what's the difference between student paint and professional paint. So I'll explain all that in a video. That's really helpful. Do I have any pictures of other things you have painted that you could share sometime? Like you just want to see stuff I've painted? I probably won't share pictures, but let's see. I did actually in the video, what day was it? I did actually share a bunch of paintings that I posted. It was on my bulletin board. I'm trying to think, have I done that before? Maybe in the PDF I'll put a video of like a sketchbook tour, so you can see inside some of my sketchbooks, things I haven't shared. If you've taken other events with me, I do share quite a bit of that, but yeah. Mary says she likes tours of sketchbooks. Yes, it is fun to see. And you know, they're not all pretty and perfect. Some people's sketchbooks are perfect, mine are not. Okay, what else? Stencil Club is the best. Thank you. I also, besides Stencil Club, I actually have a stencil store where you can look at stencils that are not part of Stencil Club. And those are different types of stencils. I meant to actually share that with you while I was going. Like, for instance, this one is, I think, the multi stained glass stencil. Oh, my very favorite one is, it's called Triangle Party. Let me find it. Actually, well, I shouldn't say I get nervous when I say very favorite. This is another one I like. It's called 64 Squares. So relaxing to paint. Triangle Party. Love this one. Very, very, very fun. Diamond. So these are all stencils that are not part of Stencil Club. You can purchase them if you'd like in my stencil store. And it's the same link as the PDF and the box that's in this thing. Oh, here's one for Timely. It's an Easter egg stencil. It's a plain Easter egg. Oops, sorry. A plain Easter egg. And then there's also these little things you can add to it. So yeah. What's the story on how I started making stencils? Well, I think where it started is I saw people making designs with like a compass and a ruler and a compass. And I was like, that's really cool. But that's a lot of work to do. So the very first stencil my husband actually made for me is a smaller version of this one. This is called the Seed of Life. It's the large version, which you can get in my stencil store. So you can see the geometry of here. So this is, you know, like you do the circle and then you mark it off with the compass and then you do more circles. So this is really just one circle and then another and another and another. Anyway, I was like, that's really cool. And I think I actually tried doing one and just failed spectacularly. So I think that was actually the start of my husband helping me with stencils. But no, I take that back. That's not true. I think the very first stencil I did was well before that, was actually just squares for a paint swatch. And oh my gosh, I was even touching that stencil earlier today. I wonder where that was. Anyway, it was just like a little stencil like this, and it just was squares that we used for paint swatches. And I think that was the very first one. But then this type of stencil for painting in more than swatches was something that came out of this not being able to do the geometry thing. And my husband was like, "Oh, I can do that." So he started helping me. And then we have designed a whole bunch of them from there. Sometimes he tells me that what I have come up with is not possible, and then I usually like to come back when he's in a good mood and then find a way to make it possible. So it kind of depends. But we've had a lot of fun designing all of this stuff. Anyway, I am so happy that you guys are enjoying the lessons. It's wonderful that, how do you get to my stencil store? There's a link towards the very top of the description of this video, and it says get the PDF for the box of supplies. It's all in the same link. A sweet story and something I can share with my husband. Yes. Any other questions that you have? Teresa said she just ordered the Easter egg. It is a fun one. Actually, several of you guys have ordered it. You tried to order the PDF, but it keeps telling me you cannot verify that I'm human. Oh, well, that's no good. I would say give it 15 minutes or try a different browser and see if that works. I suspect Chrome is probably the best. If you are still not able to, drop me an email and I'll help make that happen. Don't worry. Lee says, thank you so much for this week. It has been wonderful. I'm so glad. I love that you have enjoyed this. I am working on finalizing a date for my next in-person retreat, which will include a virtual option as well. I suspect it will be in the month of September or October. I've gotten some feedback from you guys. I'm listening to it, and I know I'm never going to make everybody happy, but I'm working on dates. Part of it is definitely tied in with my son's running schedule because I know those days are numbered. He will not be running in meets for forever, so I want to hit every single one I can. Somebody asked, is the bulk paper Canson? No, it is not. Someone said they can't wait for their kit. We're hoping by the end of this week we'll have all the kits shipped out. It really depends on paint. And if you didn't order paint, your kit will for sure ship out this week. What's the website for stencils? So it's actually on my blog, but the link is again in the description of this video. So if you click see more at the top, okay, so like here's my video, and then see where it says more. I click on that, and then it brings up a whole bunch more stuff. And so it says, it's the first link on there. Do you want access or PDF or box of supplies? So you click on that, and it will bring you to my stencil store. So just scroll through and you can see all the things in there. And there's like several pages. So click 3 pages worth. Anyway, when you purchase stencils, you can buy 4 and get the 5th one for free. However, if you're in Stencil Club, it's buy 3 and get the 4th one free. All you have to do is put it in the order notes. Make sure the stencil that you're choosing for your free stencil is the least expensive one. Somebody earlier did not do that, so I have to talk to them about that. But yeah, that's the plan. So I will hopefully have a date for you soon for my in-person retreat so you can mark it on your calendar. I will probably have a couple of options for coming, but I hope that you can join us because it is so much fun. And if you want, you can still get the fall retreat we did. Well, it's the fall retreat, and we did do a couple things that were very fall like. It isn't generally overall a like fall projects. So it's kind of fun. Okay, what I saw a question on here. Hold on. And I just X'd out. Oh no, I am back. Shoo. Okay. Oh, I lost my comments. Okay, here we go. Should the swatch for your paint palette be heavily pigmented? Mine is lighter, and when I paint, it usually doesn't match the swatch. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure of your question, Laura, but okay, so if you look, this is my paint right here. Just making sure nothing's going to drip. This is my paint, and this is my swatch card. And it really depends. If you had a ton of water, your swatch, well, first of all, your paint swatch and the paint itself is never going to match. So look at these colors down here. They're all super duper dark, but my paint swatch is going to show me what they look like for real. Okay. Having said that, though, if maybe you had a ton of water in your brush when you were painting your swatch, that would definitely change how pigmented it is. If you're not sure, maybe try swatching it again. Do it again. Make sure that your brush is clean. Make sure you're not using dirty water to do your swatches. Start out with fresh water and see if that helps. Kim, I just said that I'm looking at trying to come up with a date. Nothing has been figured out yet. I promise you will be the first to know, Kim. I really want to try and make the in-person this year. Okay, yes, you will not be disappointed. I am so humbled by the fact that I've had people from all over the country come. California, Oregon, Oklahoma, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Florida, Virginia. I think those are all the states. All of those people have come from all those different states just to see me. I'm pretty impressed by that. And I think every single one of them said it was worth it. Georgia, that's another one. So I like to say I put on a pretty good show. Okay. Oh, good. You got it to work. That's awesome. All right. Okay, well, I think I am going to wrap it up for this evening. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this event. Don't forget to make sure and watch the videos. Or if you want to watch the videos later, order the PDF or the box of supplies. You have until Wednesday to get the box, and after that, I will cut off ordering unless I still have stock available. But it will really just kind of depend. It is, I think, so worth it. Again, the 30-day painting challenge is going to start on March 2nd, which is a Monday. And I will have more information about that. The PDF for this event is going to be posted probably by Friday. I'm not promising, but probably by Friday, just because it's been a busy time here. I have a retreat I have to get sent out this week for the what is our retreat called? Lovely Blossoms Retreat. I'm actually very excited about it because my cards are amazing. Just saying. Oh, well, no, I'm just going to say that's all. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this event. If you do have questions that I didn't answer, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer them. If you have purchased a class from the past and maybe you're just getting into it. I've had a couple people tell me that. It is always a good place to start. So if you're going back to something from before, I'm always here to answer questions about it. Don't hesitate to reach out to me because I'd much rather you be happy than frustrated. So I'm here for you. I'll, other than that, have a lovely evening. Thank you again, and happy painting. I hope I've scratched the watercolor itch for you and you are getting excited about it. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Bye. I will be back here with normal card making next Monday. All right. Bye.